Well, welcome to Game TV. My name is Malik Gustavo, and I'm joined by my friend.
Gustavo and Vela.
Good to see you, my friend. How you been doing?
Woo! The gang's back in town. It's been a little busy. It doesn't and nothing's going on in the world, so I'm kind of bored. I'm just hanging out and
listen. We have been missing you, man. And you have a long vacation, and I'm glad you're back. It looks like you went to as far as Africa. I see you well dressed with your African gown on you. So how you been doing, man? Did you enjoy your vacation time?
I enjoyed my time. It was a good time. You always want to recharge the battery. It's good to stay focused. It's all about the work-life, family balance, which I don't know if I'll ever master, but at least I'll get a Bachelor of Arts degree, not a master's degree in the work-life balance. But happy to be here and looking forward to your questions and talking to your audience.
Look, like I told you at the top of the hour that it's a pleasure to see you back. I'm glad you enjoy your time. You're still very relaxed and sober,
yes,
which is good.
Rest, eating, and enjoying the good company of friends and chasing away enemies is always a great thing in life.
Fantastic. Hey, listen, man. They say no news, good news, but in America, there's always something going on. There's always something going on in America, and not just America. News is every day. Any update on what's going on in Equatorial Guinea? When we always together, it goes from politics to sports and all kind of stuff. So we're just here to listen to you about whatever you got to tell us today. What's going on in Equatorial Guinea?
Well, thank you for asking. It's always a pleasure to be back, and I know that your viewers out there are doing all that they can to support you, both in viewership and in financial contributions, and I will continue to do that both personally and professionally. With regard to Equatorial Guinea, as you can imagine, today's our Independence Day, 53 years of independence. That's why I'm sporting the African garb, and we'll do so on more regular occasions. So 53 years of independence, one family, one rule. I think they're trying to mimic the Ming Dynasty, which lasted for thousands of years. But I can assure you that the people of Equatorial Guinea, and as you know, I'm president of the Federation for Democracy and Justice in Equatorial Guinea, where we talk about solidarity, justice, and liberty. And we're working on those three things assiduously and asking that the soon-to-be former head of state do the right thing and allow a transition government to take place, one that will include all tribes, clans, all genders, and we are an all-inclusive party. And so I hope that even some of my friends from Gabon and Cameroon will join us as we look forward to rebalancing and reorienting the country of Equatorial Guinea, an oil-rich nation that is on the verge of doing some great things under new leadership. And hopefully that will be your friend, Gustavo and Bella.
Hopefully, that's the dream. We all hope that dream come true. Africa is quite an interesting place when it comes to politics. You see packets of those families trying to stick in power forever and completely ignoring rules and the regulation of democracy. And on our, we think the new generation, your generation, my generation, we're some generation, but it is very important for us to keep on pressing because our people deserve better, and that's no question asked. Listen, it's lots going on in Africa, and please be free to go back and forth. But we also know that you are four-time Olympian. You have a chance to
represent. Yes, in a previous life, I did run in 4 Olympic games.
You have a chance to represent Equatorial Guinea 4 times in your lifetime. That's a lot, and I hope that connection with Equatorial Guinea is still remain strong like in the past. Now, the reason why I mentioned that because there's a lot of news going on in the sports world, so sports world. I hope you have a chance to see the latest news when it comes to boxing. You know,
Yes.
did you watch the trilogy come to the end?
I didn't. It's been unfortunate because I've been so preoccupied with events in Equatorial Guinea and Central West Africa, as well as catching up on some much needed rest and spending time with family and friends. I did not get a chance to see it all. However, I'm sure it was not quite the thriller in Manila or the thriller in Manila, but I'm sure it rose to an occasion whereby we're now talking about it on Gain TV.
Yeah, I mean, it's for those people who are actually they're supporters. I think they was pretty upset, because now I think the conversation is over, and the man was beaten 3 times. I think that should be enough to just stay quiet. I wish I could play some of the clip, but the beating was so brutal.
Well,
I just
I remember. I mean, I know you're a big boxing fan, and I know that sometimes people's their bark isn't as big as their bite. I know Mr. Wilder was known to be a prolific trash talker, and in the end, I guess
my man, that trash talk is over.
Yeah, I think he was taken out with the trash, and so I just hope that Mr. Wilder will now perhaps reinvent himself. He might be a spokesperson for Dentures somewhere. Or Bengay, and we wish him all the best in all of his endeavors. He's a talented man,
very talented.
Yeah,
but I hope the other man was more talented than he is.
Yes, and that seems to be the case. And so I love boxing. I think it's a great sport. It's a deadly sport in some circumstances, but these men prepare their mind, body, and soul, and literally are willing to put their lives on the line each time they step into the ring. So I salute both of them. And in this case, it seems as if the better man won 3 times.
Absolutely. That was just a confirmation of things that we knew, because he was trying to maintain the fact that the other guy was not as clean as his victory was speaking. So he has to come back and just to confirm that he's actually the best in the world. But I think he did a great job. But we have to give respect to both of them, though. Because that was 2 warriors in a deadly fight.
In the arena,
I said deadly because they really gave the best of themselves. Because you saw them both go on a canvas many times, and they have to step up and keep going. But to be honest, like you said, the best man always is the last standing. And that was Mr. Fury. Was actually
and the great thing, Malik, is that unlike people who try to tell us that we didn't see what we saw on January 6th, we saw Mr. Wilder get beat on 3 different occasions. So I salute all those people who believe in facts and trust themselves in what they see. And the reality is that the better man won, and we have to salute all those people who are in the corner of the victor, and we look forward to seeing what happens in the lives of both of these great warriors of the ring.
Do you have any favorite boxer?
I go back to the days of Teofilo Stevenson. I liked Rocky Marciano, obviously Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard. Off the top of my mind, and Joe Frazier. A little bit of Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes from Easton, Pennsylvania. I'm more impressed with what Larry Holmes has done in his professional life. He has built, I think, a great real estate and construction company, I believe, somewhere in Easton, Pennsylvania. So he was someone who converted his fame in the ring into fame in the financial sector. And as you know, that's not always the case with some of our incredible athletes across several sports.
Any new generation boxer that you fan of? No.
Let's see, new generation. Well, I think this Julio Cesar Chavez's son, wasn't he? He's of the new generation, right? I'm trying to think of some other. Off the top of my head, I remember seeing Julio Cesar, and I said that he reminds me a lot of his father. But off the top of my head, no. So yes, you stumped me in the boxing arena, but that's why I had to go all the way back to Teofilo Stevenson from Cuba. that's why he even predates you. You probably don't even know who he is, Teofilo Stevenson. You should Google it for those of you out there.
Yeah. So do you think Deontay Wilder is over? Is this game over for him?
I believe so. When you get that many opportunities,
yeah,
and you come up short, and it's a fight. Everyone knows the rules of engagement. You're basically trying to knock the other person out, and you have skill, you have the boxing agility, you have the jab, you have all that stuff. And I think in this case, he just got beat. And I think there are some people, I know we're going to talk about this down the road, who might try to infuse race, but in this case, it had nothing. There's just two boxers going at it. They could have been bars.
No matter no matter how you're trying to put this, man, Mr. Fury just proven to be the best.
He did.
There's no question asked.
We won't call him Fast and Furious. We'll call him Fast and Furious.
I think that would be very appropriate. The guy moves, giving his size. When you see him the first time, you think it's kind of awkward. Yeah. But the way the guy is moving is unbelievable. And can you imagine people like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson? These all is idol.
Yeah.
So the man, I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of respect for him.
As do I. And I know even looking at his personal background, I know that he had various bouts with addiction and whatnot. And I think everyone loves a redemption story. And I think that Mr. Fury gets a PhD in redemption, and hopefully he'll use his title to advance particular causes, and will be able to be a great role model for the sport, regardless of race, weight class, or age.
Yeah, absolutely. We have somebody here speaking about new generation. There is a kid here from Baltimore, Gervonta Davis, very talented. The kid is amazing, and according to what is the pound to pound champion, undefeated champion. What's his name again?
You're getting old, brother.
Yeah, very old now. Yeah. Well, so
regardless, but I wish the young man all success. Baltimore is a great city, and it's a city that
the guy is amazing. You should. Yeah. It's the only guy really spend time watching right now. There is Devonta David. His name is Gervonta.
Gervonta David. Good luck, Gervonta. If you're out there, you have a new fan in Gustavo Novella. I look forward, since you came referred by Malik, I look forward to watching your path, and I know that you'll do Baltimore proud.
No, it's been undefeatable.
Yeah.
Ever since it's been boxing on a professional level. I think you will definitely see him, because I don't know, they were talking about him coming back for a session in Baltimore. That would be we will try to do the best we can so that you can speak to that man. He needs some of your advice as an Olympian. You know what it takes to really keep your heads up.
Yeah.
Above all the obstacles.
Yeah, as Olympian, and also as a man of color, as a father, and as a son. So hopefully one of those dimensions will land squarely, not on his chin, but on his heart, with regard to my ambitions to try to give him some advice based upon my humble experiences.
Absolutely. Listen, they'll be seeing you more often since you have a show coming up. Listen, let continue on that chapter in sports. I think earlier you were when we were talking offline, you were talking about somebody who got fired for saying some racist comments.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Well, John Gruden, and as you know, for the record, I actually tried out for the Raiders when they're in LA, the Rams when they're in LA, and the 49ers as a wide receiver and DB in the early 1990s. And so, for that being said, Frank Trump was my contact at the Rams. I'm trying to think. Bobby someone. He's Bobby Beathard was with the 49ers, and I can't quite remember who. Oh, and it was one of Al Davis's guys. And so what I find is that John Gruden, and God bless his soul, that his racism that he kept under wraps, and I'm going to be very frank, professional football, great sport, employs a lot of people of color, but look at the structure. Look at the front office.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the coaches. Look at the managers. Look at the owners. There seems to be a common theme that you have the people of color, the laborers, the ones who are suffering from CTE and various other injuries that could, but also making a very good living. But it's just the same structure. You have white folks who are in control, financial control of the lives of Black men, able-bodied Black men, but it's a structure that's set up for systemic racism. And it's a structure that, unless corrected, it's just going to be more of the same. And so you get people like John Gruden, and I'm not sure if he ever played, he never played a down of professional football in his life. But so these are guys who, they play enough, X's and O's, and they talk the good game, and they know the right people. And, he's a great talent. He won a Super Bowl, so you can't take that away from him. But it doesn't surprise me that in the arena of professional football, that you're going to have many more people like John Gruden rather than less. They may, and I'm sure there are a lot of people, Malik, are hoping that no emails come out, that no text messages come out. But I hope they all come out. I hope more people are fired, and I hope that more people of color are given opportunities to lead men who look like them, but also men who don't look like them. I'm all about equal opportunity for everyone. But in this case, John Gruden, I hope that he never works a day in football ever as an analyst. As far as I'm concerned, he can go fishing permanently out in the Los Angeles River, if there is even a river in LA anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on with LA, man? There's a lot of drama coming up here in your old town.
Yeah.
What's going on with these folks, man?
Well, it's first of all, people forget that California itself is like the 5th largest economy in the world. And I know that the demographics of LA, I was lived there from 1990 to 2007. My eldest daughter lived there. She went back to college and was working there from 2015 or 14ish, I think, 14, until recently, where she relocated to a foreign country and is doing well. And I just think that Angelenos, and there aren't very many people who are originally from LA, Malik, people come from different cities, but it's a company town, just like Washington, D.C. You got actors, models, people wanting to be actors, want to be models. You've got creeps like Harvey Weinstein rolling around. And I guess the Raiders found that maybe Vegas, in this case, what happens in Vegas didn't actually stay under wraps in Vegas, as you can ask Mr. Gruden, who is now, I'm sure, collecting a healthy unemployment check. But people are people. And I think this pandemic is allowing people to really look inside themselves. And I think the generation of kids like my children and your children, that they're going to hold these people much more accountable, as they did Andrew Cuomo, recently in the political space. So more power to other people. And we love the internet, and we love the digital footprint left for racist, misogynist, sexist, xenophobic. We love digital footprints.
Internet is undefeated, man.
Yep, exactly.
And this age, ones have to be extremely careful because some of those behavior that used to be accepted in this days and age, you got to be extremely careful, and hopefully this will force us to be on our best behavior, and also to understand that times have changed, and this whole,
Yeah. Malik, I've probably written over 500,000 emails in my life, maybe even more. And I know there's some emails that probably maybe even more. It's Equatorial Guinea all the time, So it's one of these things where you sometimes you wish you say things differently. But I hope in this era of the cancel culture that people don't get too crazy. I mean, obviously, Mr. Gruden was a blatant racist. You start talking about big lips. You start talking about men who are homosexual men who are in the NFL, and you start talking about just the typical stereotypes. And so guys like that are clowns. They're clowns. And even a lot of some of these sportscasters off the air, they say that kind of stuff all the time. And so my thing is, this guy got caught. You really can't undo what's there. And I mean, he took the time, right, to send these topless photos of young men. I mean, that's kind of like what you do in junior high and high school, right? Topless photos of girls, and come on. And so,
Do you suspect? I suspect this kind of stuff is
prevalent.
When you see your boy Donald Trump that make it okay to say some stuff in the public square without worry about people's feelings. Do you suspect that this might be we might see a lot of this coming up?
Yeah, I think the world is getting ready to. We're already kind of wobbling on our access. I don't think we're going to spin off our access, but I think right now that because the demographics in the United States of America are changing, you're having more people of color emerging. You have people who feel threatened that people like them, white people, are no longer the power structure, and in terms of the numbers. And that's just the natural course of advice. I have no problem with any. I grew up in Salem, Oregon. I'm an Equatorian who grew up in Salem, Oregon. I have no problem with anybody. I do have a problem for people who feel privileged. I do have a problem with people who, from our side, who don't take responsibility for some of their actions with regard to all sorts of things, personal choices, narcotic choices, child support choices. We all have had to deal with things in life. I am not perfect in any way, but I think responsibility, personal accountability, humility, and an ability to say, what I did was wrong. I confess, I'm sorry, and let's move on. Life's too short. Think of all the people who have lost their lives in COVID, whose families for the rest of their lives will never be the same. And so here we are today on October 12th, Independence Day in Equatoria, and my mother's 81st birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mom. Yeah, out in New York. But, so it's one of these things where we just do our best to do as much good, Malik. I think for people like yourself and myself and many of your viewers who I know who are out there talented and who I know will be supporting you and us, we just have to shore up our talents and realize that if it's to be, it's up to us. We can't rely upon people to act or not act. We need to be proactive. We need to organize. We need to plot, and we need to do what we can to become men of action. I don't like a lot of words. I'm not a wordsmith, but I am someone who likes to make sure that things go in motion. So the last thing you can tell a sprinter is take it slow. That doesn't compute.
Well, don't take it too slow, because if you're too slow, then my friend from Jamaica,
Yeah.
If you take it too slow, it's a chance that you're gonna be behind them.
Yep.
So you better watch out.
Yep. That's why I try to go 1,000 miles an hour every day. I try not to miss too many things. And at the end of the day, I sleep well. I get up and I do it all over again, just like Groundhog's Day, but in 3D and in color.
But honestly, my friend, racism in America, of course, that it's no longer like in the '60s or before the '60s. We've made a lot of progress, and it looks like a lot still made, a lot of efforts, and courageous people have to step up to correct some of this stuff, and reject some of this behavior, archaic, that I believe that this is in a country that is the mirror to the world when it comes to democracy. Isn't it ironic that this is also a place where we're still struggling with this nonsense? Do you think there's any hope that one day we'll probably be free from this scourge, if I can call it, as such? This is like it's the racism like a disease to this society.
It's a cancer that's metastasized. And unfortunately, Malik, I think it's always going to be around. It's one of those things where, you've had slavery, 400 years, people going back. And the 1619 experiment, you have the critical race theory and all the craziness. You have parents who are complaining about masks, not masks. You have people who are getting fights on airplanes. So my thing is, try to avoid the noise. You know it's right. You know it's wrong. Do what you can to protect yourself. But with regard to racism, I think it's so subtle and so embedded that it can reconfigure itself like this variant and adapt to new environments. But I call it out wherever I can. whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the athletic arena, whether it's at the gym, at the coffee shop, on the
Race
freeway.
theory.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that it's up to our generation to call it out, hold people accountable. But I'm not here to also be the professor when people say, well, am I a racist? I say, well, bro, I don't know, or ma'am, I'm not. I'm just one guy, and I'm not here to be the professor on race relations in America. I'll offer you my opinion.
I want to give a shout out to General Mathis, man. This man,
Yep.
Very courageous. Unfortunately, you've seen some people on the hill trying to disrespect that man of honor, a man of honor. That man, General Mathis, really represent this country to the best of his ability. He deserves a lot of respect. And
as does Lloyd Austin, as does Kip Ward, as does David Petraeus, as does Colin Powell. I think all these guys who have 4 stars and some who I think were wrongly demoted to 3 stars. I think anytime you serve your country with dignity, grace, class, you can't go on. These guys, I'm not one to make comparisons to deity, but these guys are guys who are cut above the rest of humanity. And some of them got there politically, right? But because of grit, hard work, and focus, I can't do anything but salute their purposefulness and their accomplishments. So you won't find any complaints from me in regard to Mr. Mattis or those of his ilk.
Yeah, I mean, especially him, man. It's some of the steps that some of the risk, especially when it comes to the form of commander in chief. Do you know this guy have to be connected with his ally? His colleague from China to make sure that nothing escalate between the United States and China. It takes a lot of guts and leadership and vision, understanding that I'm taking risk, knowing that my boss can be very upset with me. And you take steps that will be beyond your self-interest, and just to protect your country. Honestly, those generals that you just mentioned, I do respect them as well. But at this point, if I have to pick somebody, I think is one of my favorites right now when it comes to.
And you're talking about General Milley, correct? General Milley.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
General Milley. Yeah, and I think it's General Milley, and who I have friends who work very closely with him, people who I've known, is a man of honor. And these guys they're not politicians. They get summoned to the Hill for the political theater. But in the end, when these decisions were being made and we didn't know how close to the brink we were, you have to admire people who stood up and did what they could under difficult and I think almost austere and hostile circumstances. But these guys have dodged bullets. I'm sure they could dodge a few verbs of their commander-in-chief.
Yeah, I mean, let me make that correction. I was talking about General Mathis. That's actually Mark Milley that I was talking about. That's the man I was.
General Mathis is a great guy as well. All these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, listen, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, continue this wonderful conversation with my friend Gus El Nino de Oro, and who is back to us. Coming from his long-term vacation across the globe. I hope you have a chance to meet some leaders. Except maybe Mr. Theodore Well,
I don't know his name. He's becoming irrelevant. But the boys are back in town. It's good to be seen and good to see you, my friend. You look healthy, rested, and vigorous in that order.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel the same way to yourself. Listen, we'll take a quick break and we'll be back with Gustavo M. Vela. Well, we're back here with my friend Gustavo Vela. Like I was saying before the break, back from his vacation. You probably will see him more often on this show, giving us his perspective on world politics, sports, and culture. My friend, listen. I think you said a lot of good stuff on Equatorial Guinea, and I suspect that some of this stuff was in the generous perspective. You also talk to some of the countries like Gabon, country like Cameroon, those countries that need to actually do the best they can to better the lives of their people, when it comes to economic, social, and we are in the politics going, like I told you, going back and forth. When you look up this political environment in that area, and especially because I know Equatorial Guinea is kind of in between. When we say Francophone Africa,
yep.
Equatorial Guinea will happen to be very like Gabon neighbors. It looks like when we say Francophone, they kind of we can put them on the side, but it looks like they live the same reality. It's the same reality, political reality in terms of what's going on in that region. I'm not sure if you were able to watch recently. There was a big meeting. They say in Africa France, whatever conference was going on recently, and Mr. Macron, the president of France happened to invite. He invited a lot of these young people from Africa, including some of the African in the diaspora, to come to France and kind of have this honest conversation with the president. There's a lot of backlash to that meeting, and I'm one.
He got an earful.
Yeah. So I'm one of these people that actually were saying we should never do that again, because it seems to me that we are in this logic of separate to reign, because when you're a president of another country, and instead of talking to president, your colleagues president from this so-called former colonies, you choose to have a conversation directly with the people. And that, number one, for me, that was disrespectful, because you are saying clearly that I have no consideration, I have no respect for these guys. And it's a lot of this president in this, Francophone African are very controversial. We all already know that, some of them are in power more than the term that they're supposed to be. And some of them also were controversial in terms of the way they come to power. But nevertheless, if you now jump them and go and trying to deal political affairs with the simple people or young people directly with them, you are sending a message that you have no consideration to your to these people. So I don't know if you have a chance to watch that. I just wanted to give you opinion based on the fact that do you think it's appropriate for the president of France, knowing the history that we have with France, where it's appropriate for him to having those tough conversations with these young people instead of talking to the president of those countries, or respective president of these countries?
Well, I think it was a missed opportunity on the part of Mr. Macron. I'm disappointed. I think it's also a message to say that these heads of state are not on equal footing as Mr. Macron. The French have had a rich history, going back to days of Giscard d'Estaing and Francois Mitterrand and all the other folks that followed. It's amazing to me that how much the French have now realized that the chickens have come home to roost. And perhaps that's a way of ducking, but when you're talking about the interfering with the internal affairs of a sovereign country, albeit a former colony, that to me was really looking down his French nose at the people who elected their leader, whether it's Mr. Biya, whether it's Mr. Bongo, whether it's any other Francophone country. So I'm disappointed, and I hope that Mr. Macron, who seems to be on an apology tour, but he seems to be targeting his apologies to those people who aren't his peers. And so I hope that his peers, that is the Francophone leaders, will issue a joint statement saying that they too were disappointed, frustrated, and disrespected by the French president, and hope that he will afford an opportunity where they all, in a round table, not a table where you can have people on different, but a round table where everyone is of equal footing, sit and talk about the issues of health, education, welfare, systemic racism, the French and their imbalance with regard to the economy, what they do with regard to remittances, what they do with regard to banking, and all the stuff that they do to still pillage and plunder their former colonies. And the details, all you have to do is look at the banking system between France and Africa. They hold on to the money, they try to accrue interest, and at some point, enough is enough. So I know that there are a lot of, a matter of fact, the former African Union president, female, Dr. Arikana, she was criticized, and many think that she was sacked because of her criticism.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and so my thing is, who is immune? No one is better than others. And since when are people not thick-skinned enough, especially in politics, to deal with criticism, particularly when the criticism is based on facts? Whether you're talking about the Berlin Conference, whether you're talking about how they divided Africa as if it was a Swiss sheet.
Piece of cake, yeah.
And so let's be real. And for those of us who want to not be surreal, the reality is that racism is still prevalent in Africa. The colonial countries still think whether it's Spain and Equatorial Guinea, France and the countries we talked about, Portugal and Angola, there's always going to be that tension. So I think it's for us to try to break that bond, but realize there's always going to be the nexus. But these countries, Africa is for Africans. We live in an interdependent world, but we don't need to always be, let's just say, partaking of the lactose from our mother forever.
But I don't think that even lactose from our mother directly. That's a very artificial kind of food we've been taking. That's junk food. I don't think going to take that, the lactose. We should be taking lactose from our own people.
Exactly.
If you want to go and trying to suck the milk out of France, yeah, I think what you get is junk food. There's nothing nutritional about
it's powdered milk as opposed to that coming from the body.
That is powdered. Yeah, absolutely. So my perspective was that this is another episode of divided to conquer. They're trying to because keep in mind when you see in West Africa, because most of the young people that went to France to have this so-called conversation with Mr. Macron, most of them come from West Africa. Mm-hmm. Now, you also know that most recently, we've been talking about a possible, West African spring, to make just to relate to what's going on in the Arab Spring. And there's a lot of president being forced to depart from power.
Malik, Ollie. So it's not possible. It's probable and a high degree of confidence that sub-Saharan Africa.
Along with that is the possibility that there is a lot of young people that actually are rejected. The kind of relationship friends have been having with those specific countries, but also, some countries in Central Africa. And keep in mind, some of these leaders, they wanted to have a third mandate after the one is over. Trying to modify the constitution to stay longer in power. And the young people, this young generation, do believe France is a part and parcel. Part of the problem when it comes to not, distancing themselves from those leaders. Now, because that kind of environment has been building up, it's just a lot of frustration coming from young people. I think that was some kind of a strategy to kind of listen, because you know what, this is a former colonizer. And they're always going to think that way.
Yep.
And France been control in they've been controlling these 14 countries now, francophone countries in Africa for centuries.
Yep.
And they still, even this days and age, still don't want to give up. As a matter of fact, you mentioned former ambassador, one of the argument that she would make is like, why is that 14 of countries, francophone countries from Africa, why is that the money still being made in France?
Yep.
And every year we are losing up to 500 billion for that transaction of they print our money, and then they have to decide how much money each country have to have. It's a very bizarre kind of relationship between those countries and France. So I didn't see that as something beneficial for the African people.
Well, these listening tours seem to be kind of the new form of trying to address and appease the audience. But the question is, who's listening and who are you talking to? So if you're just talking into the wind or chasing ghosts or talking to people who really can't affect change, I mean, I'm all for letting young people express their opinion, but you can do those in different kind of forums. It's a missed opportunity, and I say, well, as far as I'm concerned, to hell with Mr. Macron. The African leaders can put together a consortium. They can write up a mandate, an African, a French or Francophone protocol, and saying this is the 10 things that we demand from France, and see what can happen. So it's time for us to have kryptonite spines and not allow ourselves to be abused, mistreated, and given crumbs. Indentured servitude was outlawed quite some time ago. I hope that Mr. Macron got the memo.
Absolutely. But, part of my critiques, because I did a show, in French, and part of my critique was that I think the generation African, the young people in Africa have to be extremely sophisticated and a little bit deeper in their thinking. Because what they don't understand is that there is politics and there is corporations. And usually when we talk about exploitation, those things doesn't happen in within the political language, because Macron will come and talk the talk, but when it comes to walk, he won't be having the kind of excuse my French, but he doesn't have that kind of balls to stand up against a special interest. When you see oil companies in Africa, you see the people,
multinational corporations,
the multinational corporation. So basically, when you listen to those pourparlers that were going on, if you will, it looks like the contracts was not on the table. The talking about how French will stop, deciding what kind of how many money should be printed for those countries was not divided. Do you know some countries like Congo, and I suspect even Gabon? Do you know they don't even know how much money they get from companies like Shell when they exploit oil in those countries? As a matter of fact, my man Lusuba, that became a president just after Sassou Nguesso, was chased in power when he started raising those questions. Can you imagine? When he started to raise those questions, say, okay, you know what? I want to know how much money come out of our oil rings. And
that's a reasonable request, isn't that? As a head of state, that's a reasonable request to find out when you're trying to balance.
That's legitimate. You will think.
And
can you imagine?
God forbid that a black man who was elected by his people in Africa raised the reasonable question as to how much money are we making, but probably built into that question is how much money are they stealing? And so I think, so I salute him and all the other ones, and you can include me among those people, should I become duly elected, that will ask the hard questions, not to embarrass anyone, but to say, hey, where's our starting point going to be? Because you find that sometimes people don't want smart African leaders who understand the game, who are educated here in the United States, and not looking to become the next Nobel Prize winner. We just want to go to work. We want to feed our population. We want to clothe them. We want to educate them. We want to have the proper healthcare, just like any other normal sovereign country. Nothing more, nothing less. The dark continent is no longer dark. We have plenty of light, but we have people who still want to turn off the light switch and charge us for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, if I can piggyback on what you just said on, they don't want, people who have, head on their shoulders, strong people, smart people. And Lusuba was one of the example. Knowing that, do you think the African, these young people, there seems to be a little bit naive to know that, France is not ready to go anywhere, because knowing the kind of economics relationship that they have this country is just another way to polish out in presenting, and they have a salesman like that's young Macron. When he come and speaking in the name of France, he can interact with young people just to kind of suppress those real intentions of trying to cut off that umbilical cord between France and Africa. Yeah. And that's a way for me. That's my own analysis. Yeah. I think it's a way to polish out in bringing that young man called Macron in front of other young people in Africa and show them, hey, listen, I'm just like you. We are young people. We want the same thing. Mm-hmm. But that is just a political talk.
Yeah.
When it comes to real debates on the economic freedom of Africa, you couldn't even hear anything on the table saying, you know what? It's been more than 60 years of independence. It's about time that you make your own decision. It's about time that the people of those respective countries in Africa be represented by leaders like Mr. Gustavo Mvela, who have the interests of these people at heart. Mm-hmm. But instead, on one hand, you see this kind of a divisive relationship, and then on the other hand, they're dealing with those leaders and say, oh, you know what, don't worry, we got you. Just stay there. We just want to help you out to calm your population, your people. So we have to be very smart and very sophisticated to understand how this former dominators operate.
Yeah, je suis fatigué of the actions of the French.
Absolutely.
I hope that as we march forward, and I encourage all Equatorial Ghanaians to make sure that in the 2022 elections that you vote for change, and you're looking at change now. I hope that that Malik's insight, I hope that the Gabonese people who are watching this program throughout the world, not just Gabonese, anyone watching this, know that we're two young men just trying to make a difference. We don't come here with any agenda other than to tell our truth as we see it, based upon our experiences, based upon what we see, not what we're told, and based upon facts, not artificial facts, concrete facts. So we're always open to listening. We have our own listening tour. And we hope that someday those people who are in positions of authority won't be threatened by people who want to go back. I was educated here in the States. The United States saved my family from the grips of Macias and Gemma. I feel a duty and an honor to go back, see what I can do, and talk about the tenets of democracy, freedom, human rights, human dignity, sovereignty, fiscal responsibility, transparent elections, and the ability for accountability, whether it's French, Spanish, Portuguese, or now as people are now going Martian, accountability. And we all actually be in our personal and our professional lives. So that's I'll get off my soapbox now, but as a son who comes from 4 generations of Presbyterian ministers, I fear no man. No man.
Absolutely. Listen, that sounds like a conclusion to me. I think we our point of view clear and crystal clear for people to to do their own analysis. Because when I told you that there's a lot of backlash. It goes both ways. There's some people, a lot of young people, applauding what was going on. And that's what I say. You have to be careful, be a little bit sophisticated. But you can understand those who went to school in France, who being raised mentally and intellectually by French people. They're more likely, to be in favor of that kind of tactics and whatever stuff.
Don't be hoodwinked. Don't be bamboozled, and don't be arrogant. Just because you went to France and you breathe the French air, and there's no more level of sophistication. You're just afforded the opportunity because of family, scholarships. But don't fall for the game of thinking that because you went to a foreign country, that foreign country will accept you. You know,
absolutely.
Be proud of where you come from and where you stand to go.
It's a lot of them that they're talking about the way they've been treated in France and all kind of stuff should be a benchmark for them to understand that these people will never change. All that matters is just their special interest. Listen, my friend, that was a good show. A welcome back show. It's always a pleasure to see you. Look forward.
It's not welcome back, Carter. It's welcome back, Gustavo. I'm glad you're back. I miss your face. I hope that all is well with you and yours, and we look forward because we know that help is on the way.
It's on our way. My friend, you take care of yourself.
All right.
That was Malik and Gustavo and Vela, talking about the
support Malik. Support Malik. Support Gain TV. We need him out there.
Absolutely. If you want to have this kind of a conversation, open, straight, we speak truth to power. If you want to see this more often, just like my friend say, the best way to do it is to support us. Text us, tell us if you have some comments. We're open to it. There's nothing that we can talk about when it comes to politics, education, and the culture. So, my friend, the time is up, and I look forward to speak with you another time.
I'm proud of you, viewers. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm always in your corner, and I will always go in any foxhole with you day or night, brother.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. See you another time.